Have you ever found yourself in a social situation, maybe a high-stakes meeting or, a dinner party, where you just feel completely out of your depth?
Oh, absolutely. Where the pressure to fit in becomes so overwhelming that you just blurt out a lie.
Yes, exactly. Not a malicious lie, but like a panic-induced fabrication just to survive the moment.
Right. It's that classic nightmare scenario.
You claim you speak fluent French,
Yeah.
or you tell your boss you're an absolute wizard at Excel.
And in that split second, you get this massive wave of relief because you've successfully blended into the group.
But that relief only lasts until the environment actually demands proof.
Yeah, suddenly you have to decipher a menu in Paris or build a complex pivot table right in front of the executive team.
It is the absolute worst. And that exact tension is what we are exploring today. So, welcome back to the deep dive.
Glad to be here.
Today, we are unpacking the anatomy of a perfect romantic comedy setup by looking at some brilliant source material. We're diving into Meghan Quinn's novel, Till Summer Do Us Part.
It's such a great read.
It really is. And our mission today is to examine how heavy social pressure to conform can lead to a tiny lie that it spirals so far out of control.
Oh, it spirals, all right. It lands the protagonist in this hilariously high-stakes fake marriage scenario.
Right, but more than just walking through a fun story, we are going to look at the psychology behind why we build these traps for ourselves.
Because the narrative here serves as a fascinating case study in human behavior. It really illustrates how a person's deepest insecurities can drive them to create the exact chaotic circumstances they actually need to heal.
Yeah, we spend so much energy curating this safe, predictable image.
But true growth usually requires our carefully constructed walls to just completely collapse.
Totally. So let's set the stage with our protagonist, Scottie Price. She is 29, recently divorced, and she's working as a copy editor at a golf company called Butter Putter.
Butter Putter. Just the name alone tells you everything you need to know about the vibe.
Exactly. And if you have ever sat in a corporate environment where everyone just seems to be speaking a cultural language you don't get, you will deeply relate to Scottie.
Oh, for sure.
She is surrounded by this sea of khaki-wearing, vest-sporting finance guys that she collectively refers to as the Brads and Chad.
That is such a brilliant shorthand. The Brads and Chad moniker really captures that exclusionary environment that just breeds imposter syndrome.
Right, because it's a workplace totally dominated by a specific type of corporate monoculture.
And the issue for Scottie isn't just that her coworkers wear boat shoes or, talk about golf all day.
No, it's that every single one of them appears to be flawlessly happily married.
Exactly. They constantly discuss their perfect weekend trips to the Finger Lakes and their wives' amazing crock-pot recipes.
It's like they've formed this unintentional cult of domestic success.
And meanwhile, Scottie is carrying the very fresh, very raw trauma of a failed marriage.
Yeah, and her marriage didn't end in some mutual, respectful uncoupling either. It ended pathetically. Her ex-husband, Matt, completely forgot her birthday. He left her to eat a piece of cake alone at the dining room table while he played video games in the other room.
Wow, wow.
I know. So her current reality consists of going home to eat, 2 dill pickles, a Triscuit, and a cup of applesauce while watching true crime documentaries.
That sounds incredibly isolating.
It is. She feels like an utter failure in comparison to her coworkers.
Well, what's fascinating here is the psychology of the out-group. It's heavily at play. Scottie isn't simply annoyed by the Brads and Chad. Their presence acts as a constant, glaring reminder of her own perceived inadequacies.
Right, it's a mirror she doesn't want to look into.
Exactly. When you are forced to spend 40 hours a week surrounded by people casually performing the exact type of success you feel you failed at, the pressure to mask your reality becomes immense.
It's a protective mechanism.
Yes, it's a total trauma response, but that protective mechanism completely misfires during a critical meeting.
Oh, the meeting. So the company's glamorous, tailored, and very intimidating CEO, Ellison, is in the room.
And Scottie desperately wants a promotion to a glossy magazine called Golf Galaxy.
Right, so she is already on edge, trying to impress Ellison. The conversation turns to weekend plans, everyone is gushing about their spouses, and suddenly, all eyes are on Scottie.
The pressure just peaks.
She panics.
Yeah.
She literally blurts out that she is going antiquing this weekend with her quote-unquote husband.
It's a classic fight-or-flight response. She chooses to fabricate an alternate reality rather than expose her vulnerability.
Because Admitting she's divorced in that specific room under those specific eyes would just feel like a professional and personal surrender.
Totally. But the lie immediately hits a snag.
A huge snag.
Yeah.
Chad, who Scottie notes can't even properly use a comma in his copy, by the way, suddenly plays detective.
Of course he does.
He points out to the entire room that Scottie isn't wearing a wedding ring.
Ouch!
And this is where that resume analogy comes in perfectly.
Yeah.
It's like panicking and putting Excel expert on your resume.
Right, you think you'll get away with it.
But instead of having to eventually produce a spreadsheet, Scottie suddenly has to produce a living, breathing human spouse.
Which is so much harder than a spreadsheet.
Way harder. But wait, why wouldn't she just back out in that moment? Like, she could have easily laughed it off, said she misspoke, and admitted she was going through a divorce. Is the fear of workplace judgment really powerful enough to sustain a lie this massive?
Well, in a high-stakes social environment, backing down is often perceived as more humiliating than the initial lie.
Really?
Yeah. Confessing in that moment would mean confirming the very inadequacy she's so desperate to hide.
So she just digs the hole deeper.
Exactly. By doubling down and claiming that her marriage is simply on the rocks, which, explains the missing ring, she regains a twisted sense of control.
Nice.
She enters the in-group. She is now part of the marriage club, even if she's entering it as a struggling member.
But making up a lie is the easy part. The real trap is that society, and especially corporate culture, demands proof.
They always want proof.
Ellison, the CEO, is deeply, almost invasively invested in her employees' personal lives. Hearing that Scottie's marriage is failing, Ellison immediately pulls her aside and insists she see a marriage counselor.
And not just any counselor.
No. Ellison's own husband, Sanders, who's touted as this highly prestigious therapist in the Northeast. Ellison texts him on the spot.
Oh, no.
And suddenly, Scottie has a couple's therapy appointment at 9:00 a.m. the very next day.
The trap snaps shut. The lie has moved from a conceptual shield to a physical liability.
Yeah.
I mean, Scottie now requires an accomplice.
So she runs to her favorite gay bar, Stockings, and confesses this entire nightmare to her bartender best friend, Mika.
A true friend.
Truly. And Mika offers a lifeline. His brother, Wilder, can play the fake husband.
Now, if you're recruiting a guy from a bar to play a corporate husband for a prestigious therapy session, you are probably picturing someone trying to look very serious in a stiff, ill-fitting suit.
Oh, 100%. But Wilder's the complete opposite of that expectation. He is 27, a retired app developer who sold an app called Soda Tracker for a fortune. So he is immensely wealthy.
But he shows up to meet Scottie looking like a hipster who just left an indie rock concert.
Right. Threadbare tees, a beanie, worn black jeans, and a lip ring.
Oh, and the best part, he takes improv classes.
Yes. If we connect this to the bigger picture... Oh, wait, I stole your line.
You did. But honestly, if we connect this to the bigger picture, the introduction of Wilder serves as a brilliant foil to Scottie.
How so?
Well, Wilder's immense wealth gives him something Scottie desperately lacks. Ultimate security.
Right, he doesn't need this job.
Exactly. Financial security doesn't just buy things, it buys the privilege of being completely unbothered by social judgment. Scottie lacks financial, emotional, and professional security.
Which makes her rigid, panicked, and desperate to control her image.
Yep. Wilder's safety net allows him to treat life as an eccentric improv stage because he doesn't actually need validation from anyone in that corporate sphere.
And he treats this therapy appointment like he is headlining a comedy show.
Oh, he really goes for it.
They walk into the office, and immediately, the illusion of this prestigious counselor shatters. Sanders isn't sitting behind a mahogany desk in a tweed suit.
Not at all.
He is wearing basketball shorts and a pink Hawaiian shirt, casually tossing a football around an office filled with sports memorabilia.
The environment is intentionally designed to be disarming. Therapists often use casual settings to lower a client's defenses.
But for Scottie, who is meticulously prepared for a formal corporate interrogation, the unpredictability only spikes her anxiety.
Of course it does. So Sanders starts pressing them for details about why their passion died.
And Scottie tries to be diplomatic and vague, hoping to quietly prove they are incompatible so she could fake a polite divorce.
But Wilder leans fully into his improv training, the yes and philosophy.
Oh boy. He takes the wheel and invents an incredibly specific, horrifying story about a disastrous trip to Montauk.
It's so unhinged.
He tells Sanders they had to sleep in a cabin with no bed, just sleeping bags. He claims he was sleeping naked, and that Scottie accidentally zipped his, to use his exact phrase, full-mast penis into the sleeping bag.
He calls her the serial zipper.
Yes, and claims he had to be wheeled into the ER, still wrapped in the bag. Wait, stop. I am completely lost here.
Yeah.
Why on earth does Wilder escalate it this far? Isn't he supposed to be helping her? She just needs a quiet exit strategy to get her boss off her back, and he's talking about zippers in the ER.
I know, it looks like sabotage, but it actually functions as a narrative crucible.
A crucible.
Yeah. Think about it. If Wilder had played along with a polite, boring lie, Scottie would have remained safely hidden behind her emotional walls.
Okay, I see that.
By inventing a history so extreme, so graphic, and so deeply embarrassing, he overwhelms her ability to maintain her rigid corporate persona. She is forced to drop the mask.
Because she has to actively engage in the chaos just to keep the story afloat.
Exactly. They are instantly forced to build a highly specific, shared history on the spot. Furthermore, their frantic, genuine bickering over this fabricated zipper incident looks exactly like raw, unresolved marital passion to the therapist.
And Sanders completely buys it. He misinterprets their intense arguing as a sign that there is still a spark worth saving.
So instead of recommending a divorce,
he immediately invites them to an 8-day adult marriage retreat in the Catskills.
And Wilder, because he's a secret millionaire and treats the whole thing like a fascinating social experiment, casually drops $15,000 on the spot to pay for it as a treat.
15 grand. Just like that.
Creating a freak history is only half the battle. To truly break down someone's emotional defenses, you have to remove their escape routes.
Right.
The narrative physically removes them from their comfort zones and places them in an environment of extreme isolation and forced intimacy.
And Camp Haven is the definition of extreme. They arrive in the Catskills, and the first thing that happens is their phones are confiscated.
A strict electronics-free zone.
Yeah. Then, to Scottie's absolute horror, she realizes this isn't just a random retreat. Ellison, the Brads, and Chad are all attending.
It is essentially a company retreat.
A nightmare. Sanders greets them, this time wearing a cut-off suit jacket and literal moose antlers on his head.
So weird.
But the really shock comes when they get to their cabin. Cabin 8.
The setting shifts from eccentric to aggressively intimate.
It is a literal sex palace.
Yep.
There is a white fluffy rug, a 4-poster bed with handcuffs and chains hanging from the posts, and walls covered in close-up black and white erotic photography of body parts.
Wow.
But the masterpiece is the dresser. It is set up like a hotel minibar, but instead of overpriced cashews and tiny bottles of gin, it is stocked with exorbitantly priced sex toys, blindfolds, and condoms.
It's hilarious. We are talking $15 for a 3-pack of condoms.
And $27 for a tiny bottle of lube. Scottie is so terrified of triggering a hidden hotel weight sensor and getting charged that she hilariously leaves a single fake penis poking out of a drawer just so the cleaning staff knows they didn't actually use anything.
I mean, the forced proximity trope is a staple of romantic comedies for a reason.
It's like checking into a quaint rustic Airbnb and realizing you've accidentally booked a set of 50 Shades of Grey. How could any sane person maintain a fake relationship in an environment designed entirely around physical intimacy?
Well, by placing these two strangers in an environment that is absurdly sexualized, it completely strips away their normal social scripts.
Ah, okay.
The sheer cognitive overload of staring at a sex minibar together forces them to drop their guards. They can no longer rely on polite small talk. They have to communicate honestly and strategize as a team simply to survive the awkwardness.
And through that sheer awkwardness, we do start to see moments of genuine connection bleeding through.
Like what?
Well, amidst the handcuffs and the chains, they discover they both happen to use native brand aluminum-free deodorant. And they both share a very deep, very specific love for Nerds Cluster's candy, which the camp unfortunately confiscates as contraband during a luggage search.
It is always the mundane details that anchor us in absurd situations. In a room explicitly designed for physical intimacy, finding out you use the same brand of deodorant is profoundly grounding.
It really is.
It establishes a baseline of shared humanity that cuts through the artificiality of their fake marriage and the hyper-sexualized environment of the cabin.
But, grounded moments don't last long when you are actively trying to maintain a deception in front of the very people who triggered your insecurities in the first place.
True. Chad is watching them like a hawk.
Exactly. So to prove their marriage is terrible, Scottie and Wilder have to participate in the camp's opening activity,
which is
a highly competitive mini golf tournament. But because it is Camp Haven, they are physically tethered together at the ankles and hands.
Of course they are.
They have to navigate the entire course as a single unit.
The physical tethering serves as a metaphor for their situation. They are bound together by the lie, forced to coordinate their movements even as they try to project distance.
Scottie gives Wilder strict instructions. They need to intentionally bicker loudly and hurl insults at each other so the surrounding couples will believe their marriage is genuinely toxic.
So they snipe at each other.
Right. They argue about lady nagging and make wild, inappropriate comments about their college days, putting on this chaotic, hostile show for Chad.
But underneath the verbal hostility, their physical communication is flawless.
It is. They move together perfectly and actually score a hole-in-one to win the challenge against Chad and his wife.
The physical coordination precedes the emotional coordination. They are pretending to be at odds, but their bodies are working in perfect sync.
But the victory is short-lived. Wilder gets so caught up in the excitement of beating Chad that he celebrates wildly, throwing his hands up in the air.
Oh no.
He completely forgets they're tied together, which throws them both entirely off balance. Wilder's a big guy, and he can't stop the fall. They go face first into the dirt, and Scottie smashes her eye directly onto a rock. It is a brutal crash landing.
That sounds painful.
They end up at the nurse's station. Scottie gets a butterfly bandage, and she begins developing a massive, swollen black eye.
Yikes.
Now, I have to say, I am struggling to understand her reaction here.
Why is that?
Well, if I face-planted at a nightmare sex camp in front of my worst coworkers because my fake husband was doing a victory dance, I would be furious.
It's a normal reaction.
I would probably quit my job and walk into the woods. But Scottie touches her bruised face and whispers, "Cool."
She actually says cool.
Yes. She is surprisingly thrilled about having a black eye. Why on earth is she happy that she just got her face smashed into a rock?
This raises an important question, right? To understand her reaction, we have to look at the psychological state she has been trapped in.
Okay, walk me through it.
For months, maybe years, Scottie has been living a highly curated, deeply painful existence. She has been meticulously masking the emotional agony of her divorce and trying to survive the sterile, judgmental corporate world of butter putter.
Right.
Every single thing she experiences is tied to that exhausting mental and emotional strain. But the black eye, it is visceral. It is physical, acute, and real.
It's undeniably real.
Exactly. It's the first tangible, unpredictable thing that has happened to her that is completely disconnected from her past trauma. It's a shock to the system that proves she's actually alive outside of her corporate anxiety.
Oh, wow. It pulls her out of her head and into her body.
Exactly. And the way Wilder reacts to the injury is equally important. Think about her ex-husband, Matt. When he disappointed her, his response was neglect.
He ignored her and played video games while she sat alone.
But when Wilder makes a mistake and physically hurts her, the dynamic completely shifts. He drops the eccentric, goofy improv act entirely. Yeah, he is consumed with genuine guilt. He carries her to the nurse, he constantly checks on her, and later at the welcome dinner, he instinctively pulls out her chair for her.
A gesture of care he learned from his mother, right?
Exactly. The injury inadvertently acts as a stress test for their relationship.
And Wilder passes the test. His gentle care stands in sharp contrast to her ex-husband's neglect. It proves to Scottie that even when Wilder causes chaos, he takes responsibility.
He becomes a safe space.
Yeah. In that moment, they transition from two strangers executing a scam to actual partners protecting each other.
The lie she told to protect herself from judgment ultimately dismantled the walls, preventing her from finding genuine connection.
Which brings us to the core insight of this journey. We watch Scottie start with a pathetic workplace lie, born out of deep loneliness and a desperate desire to fit into a khaki-clad corporate cult.
And we watched that single lie snowball until she was trapped in an exorbitant Catskills sex cabin with an eccentric millionaire who accidentally gave her a black eye while tied to her on a mini golf course.
It's quite the sentence when you say it out loud.
It really is. But the beauty of the romantic comedy structure is how it uses absurdity to highlight profound truths about human connection.
We spend so much time terrified of being seen as flawed or inadequate.
We lie on our resumes, we nod along in meetings when we have no idea what is being discussed, and we pretend our personal lives are perfect.
But sometimes, the lies we tell to protect our deepest insecurities end up forcing us into the exact vulnerable, messy situations we actually need in order to heal and open up to new people.
If Scottie hadn't lied in that boardroom, she would have stayed safe, isolated and miserable.
She needed the chaos of the fake marriage, the extreme environment of Camp Haven, and the unpredictable energy of Wilder to finally break out of her shell.
We need the chaos to dismantle our carefully curated images. Growth doesn't happen in the safety of the known. It happens when we are forced to improvise in the unknown.
Which leaves you, the listener, with a final thought to ponder as you go about your day.
Imagine you're sitting in a therapist's office right now.
And you have to invent a fake relationship flaw on the spot with a total stranger to convince the room your life is falling apart. What would your zipper incident be?
And more deeply, what does our desperate desire to curate our social image actually end up costing us?
Exactly. When we try to perfectly control how everyone sees us, are we just pulling a loose thread that will eventually unravel our whole sweater?
Because as Scottie learned the hard way, you can only fake it for so long before you inevitably get caught in the wonderful, messy chaos of real life.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.